with the first come first serve, so that they at least know that they feel like it will be more fair and equitable if it was people who applied in January get through without skipping the line, what they are calling it. Can you quickly touch on that and what that will look like? Because it has created a lot of issues within all four communities when it comes to people who's been waiting for 3-4 months, and then somebody who just applied gets ahead of the line.
Yeah, no, thank you for that perspective. And I think we certainly understand that feeling and that concern. I mean, as I was saying, I think we really tried to draw the balance as best we could to give in the most fair and equitable way. So certainly one way to look at it would be, absolutely wholly first come, first serve. But at the same time, we did want to make sure that just because somebody maybe didn't know about this program on day one, they were forever disadvantaged, right? So we did try to create this balance. And so, we want to make sure that everybody knows that there is still a, first in, first out queue. That's half of the cases. So somebody who did file early, will make it through that process at some point, and we will adjudicate their case. But, we did introduce this kind of random feature as well several months ago, because we did just want to make sure that we were, giving an opportunity to everybody, even if they weren't, able to get a supporter to support them right off the bat, for example. I know it took some longer than others if you didn't have kind of connections in the United States immediately. So.
Thank you so much for that. And again, we have a lot of questions. We are going to move along, but we have two very questions people are asking over and over that we need to get on the CHNV program specifically. It is regarding a minor child. Give me 1 second so I can find that. What to do with an application where the sponsor cannot check the child's I-134. Is there, as there is a yellow dash in front of the name and keep displaying unavailable?
This sounds, we were looking at this question and trying to figure out an answer. I think it probably is a fairly specific question. It sounds, given kind of the yellow dash, it sounds like a data entry issue. If this case is still pending, I think the supporter, so the person who filed the I-134A, could log in and maybe make any corrections to the name, the date of birth, or the passport number. It sounds like maybe some information was potentially entered incorrectly. So I would try that, and if that doesn't work, then maybe contact us directly and we can try to resolve it.
That sounds good. Okay. A couple questions on this bill. We'll move into next questions. So here is, for example, someone who has made a mistake. How do they correct that?
So is this somebody?
So can someone who got approved, for example, on August 9th or August 10th, ask for correction on a mistake made on their passport, adding the number to it? Can they use a previous passport number instead of the new one? So, for example, specifically in Haiti, people who have passports who has been expired, they get a new one, a new passport. And if you remember, there were some discrepancies between the numbers. So they're asking what to do in that case. So do they continue with the new number they have for the new passport, or can they use the old expired passport number?
Yes, good question. They do need to use their updated number. It will cause problems when they try to travel if the travel authorization that they were given doesn't match their passport. So we want to get that corrected before they actually try to come to the United States. I'm going to quickly walk through what that process is, but I will note that a lot of these very specific questions that are being asked are addressed on the USCIS website in our FAQs. And this is one of them. So I will go through this, but it is kind of technical. So please look on our website under the CHNV parole process, because you'll find this answer there under our frequently asked questions. But if you've already received a confirmed I-134A and the passport number is now incorrect, you can make this fix through your online account. So in your online account, the MyUSCIS account, you would need to upload a copy of the new valid unexpired passport. This is in the unsolicited evidence in the notices tab. And then you should also, from your account, send USCIS a message from your inbox indicating that you have submitted evidence to correct the passport information. You should get a response from us in your inbox, and you should not proceed to the next stage in the process. So if you've not already submitted your attestations in the account, please don't move forward through the process until we've responded to you to let you know that we've updated your passport information. But it is important to fix it.
Thank you so much. So we are going to pivot into the next session, but before we do that, we have a critical question. Let me see. How does the court, the CHNV trial lawsuit from the 21 states could impact or affect applications that have already been submitted and applications that could be submitted in the future?
No, another great question, and one that unfortunately we're not in a position to be able to comment on, given that it's active litigation, and I think we just don't know the answer to that.
And what I did, I'll just add, because I just answered this question in the Q&A. No, it was same, Catherine, that I think we're going to have to wait and see what the court decision says about pending applications and how we treat them. So we don't have any more information to share at this time.
Thank you so much for that. Again, if you just joined, you are with the Haitian Rouge Alliance, and we are grateful to have our amazing guests from the Department of Homeland Security. These are the people who are working very closely and directly in all immigration matters. And we have Royce Murray, we have Catherine Anderson and Daniel Delgado, who are giving us information directly, again, I repeat, directly from members of the Department of Homeland Security, who are the people working on immigration within the US government. So the goal of this webinar, of this community outreach, is to make sure that we get the right information from the right authority to the community in order to combat and fight against the misinformation, the false information, and many times, unfortunately, scams that are going throughout all the communities when it comes to immigration matters. So thank you so much for joining us. And we want to also highlight that we will not be able to answer all of your questions, but we will be able to get answers for you and send an email to folks who have asked those questions. We have a quick a question from our partner in Massachusetts, a very quick one, asking, can you talk about the medical appointment needed to do in Haiti? So if that is something you can quickly touch on before we move into the next session. But thank you so much, Dr. Gabo, as IFC, for the question.
Yeah, let me just briefly take that one. So I think that is something that is specific to the Haitian family reunification parole process. There are no medical appointments required in Haiti for the CHNV parole process or CBP1, for example. So it's specific to the family reunification process, and it does need to be completed with a panel physician, and it needs to be completed, prior to the application being able to be fully approved. So the supporter, the U.S. The person in the U.S., right, who is the petitioner on the I-130, starts the HFRP process by applying with the I-134A. The medical does not need to be done at that point. But once the I-134A has been confirmed, the beneficiary then will be contacted with next steps. One of those next steps is that there's a requirement to complete the medical exam before moving on to receive the travel authorization.
Thank you for that. Another question is, a lot of people are being charged for the program, being promised different things. They're asking, where do they report fraudulent claims vis-a-vis the CHNV parole program?
Yep. And thank you for being willing to report, abuses of the process when you see it. The best thing that I would advise, at least from the USCIS standpoint, is if you suspect fraud and wish to report it, USCIS does have a fraud reporting tip form. I can put the web address in the chat, but it is uscis.gov report-fraud/USCIS -tip-form. So I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you so much on that. We are going to try to move forward. We are at 6:59 and we still have a lot of questions. So quickly on CBP1, for those who do not know, CBP1, maybe one of you can better describe what CBP1. Danielle, anyone can tell people what is CBP1 for those who do not know.
I sure thing. So CBP1 is a mobile application that is available on any mobile device that individuals can download directly to their phone for free. Just as we were talking about scams and fraud, there is no fee associated with the CBP1 app. And this app allows individuals to choose a time and port of entry to present themselves at a selected time rather than making an irregular journey to the Southwest border. And so once you download this app, you can submit your information in advance to CBP and schedule your time. And again, we're offering 1,450 appointments per day that are available at 8 different ports of entry across the Southwest border. And so once you are able to successfully submit your information and can confirm your appointment, you have up to 21 days to reach your appointment and at your scheduled time that was made through the application.
Thank you so much for that. So on the CBP1 question, it is what to do when the person cannot get an appointment from the US-Mexico border on CBP1 since January.
Appreciate that question. And speaking in general terms without knowing the specifics of this case here, what we have seen in issues in the past where individuals are seeking to create new profiles and new registrations each day that they are making an attempt, rather than continuing with the profile that they have set in place. Because one of the ways that we do process appointments is, of course, how long somebody has been in the queue waiting for an appointment. And the only way we can tell that is if somebody is using that same profile that shows that they have been actually waiting, right? When you create a new registration and a new profile each time, that does mean that is essentially resetting your place in line there. So without knowing the specifics of this case, that is something generally that we have seen. But of course, if there are other specific questions about that specifically, feel free, Berlene, to pass that along.
Absolutely, and thank you so much to that. And we want the community to know that we are in constant communication with the Department of Homeland Security to make sure they answer the questions that we have. And as we continue to monitor CBP1, the CHNV parole program, the Family Unification Program, we want you to continue to raise your concerns so that we can in turn make sure that we get the answers from you directly from the source, directly from DHS, USCIS, and the various department within those who are in charge of immigration. Next question on CBP1 is what to do in a situation where the email used for CBP1 application is lost. So what we are seeing a lot of times since January is that somebody might be using a person's device or phone and that person received their appointment and they have been able to enter the United States. Now you have people who are left behind without way to access that email or that profile. What to do in a situation where the email used for the CBP1 application is lost for one reason or another?
Sure. So on this specific instance, if an individual, for example, does not have access to that same device, right? An individual can, if they do remember their email login and password, they can use that to log in from a different device. So that is one option, depending on how much information you still have to access that account. However, if an individual does have a confirmed appointment that was scheduled at a port of entry to present, then the individual can still present at that designated port of entry at that designated time, because CBP does have that information on file, even if the individual does not necessarily have the email or the device to show them when they arrive to present. We can still pull that up at the port of entry.
Thank you so much for that. On the CBP part. So now let's quickly go into HFRP, which is the Haitian Family Reunification Program. Quick basic questions. Who is eligible for the Family Reunification Program? Maybe we can group a couple of questions and get answer to those. Who is eligible for the Family Reunification Program? What are the steps to apply for the Family Reunification Program? Do people with no payment yet on the visa processing eligible for family reunification? Maybe we can answer the first two, and then we can go to that and the other one.
Sure. Let me speak to those. So in terms of who is eligible, I think the first important thing to know is that this process is by invitation only. So you are only eligible to start the application process if you have received an invitation. Those who may receive an invitation are from the eligible pool of individuals. And as I mentioned earlier, it's those who are beneficiaries on approved I-130s, so a family-based immigration petition that has already been approved. It's for people who they don't have visa availability yet. So they have an approved I-130, but they are waiting for their visa to become available. And so the point of this program is to allow families to reunify in the United States while they wait for that visa to become available, so that they can adjust to become a lawful permanent resident. So that's kind of the goal of this process. In terms of, again, just speaking to who is eligible, it is beneficiaries on approved I-130s and their spouses and children. So let me stop there on eligibility. Does that answer that piece of it?
Yes. Can you give a little bit more information, because people seem to believe that it could be anyone be able to apply to participate in the Family Reunification Program. Can you please reinstate who are eligible and the relationship? What does that relationship consist of?
Yeah, sure. And let me step into the process just a little bit, because I think the process is really relevant to who is eligible, because I want to go back to this invitation piece. So the very first step in this whole process, and the only way that anybody is eligible to apply, is after receiving an invitation. So the Department of State's National Visa Center will email an invitation to be part of this process to the I-130 petitioner. So to the US-based either lawful permanent resident or US citizen who filed the I-130 petition. So the invitation will go to the US person. It's the petitioner on the I-130. And that invitation will come in to the email address on record for that approved Form I-130. If there's no email address on record, we will physically mail the invitation to the petitioner's mailing address on record. So with that, I will say it is very important that the petitioner, the person in the United States, keeps their mailing address and current contact information up to date with the Department of State's National Visa Center. So in terms of who's eligible, you shouldn't just come to the USCIS website and apply for this family reunification process, because unless you've received an invitation and have an invitation number to put into the application will be rejected. So in terms of who can then apply, again, the process is started by that US-based petitioner, and they need to file a separate I-134A for everybody in the family who they're going to apply for. So again, it's the beneficiaries who are listed on the I-130 and their, their immediate family members, their spouse and their children who are under 21. So each person needs their own application, but those are the people who are eligible. They're the beneficiaries as well as the beneficiaries' spouse or children.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking at the time, and I want to check in with yours, Catherine and Daniel. We only have about 5 minutes left, but I don't know if you might be able to stay a tiny bit longer to answer some of those questions that we are seeing coming. And we also want to let folks know that some of the questions that are being answered live via text. So if you have sent a question on the Q&A, please check, because our guests are great and they are answering as many questions as possible via text as well. We will capture those questions and we'll add them to the form and be able to review and re-answer for you all. Again, thank you so much for your patience and for your understanding. And this is one of many engagement that will be between the community and DHS to hopefully, get rid of the misunderstanding, the false information, the scams, and all of those we are dealing with on a daily basis. So let's go a couple of questions before we stop and see how much time we have. I know this might not be something that you can answer right now, but we are getting a lot of questions about folks who have applied for fiancé visas and the difference in what to do between waiting for fiancé visa, family unification program, program by the parole program, CHNV. What advice do you have for people whose fiancé visa or other travel visas have been approved, but the process is being held up because they cannot get an interview with the U.S. Embassy in Port-au-Prince, understanding everything that's happening in the country right now? Can they try to get an appointment in another country, such as the Dominican Republic? Understanding you might not be able to give an answer to that, but really wanted to highlight this is something we see happening within the community literally every day.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Geraldine. And unfortunately, that most of that does fall within the Department of State's lane, so we are somewhat limited in how we can respond and what advice we could offer there. One thing I would say, though, to take into consideration, right, because all of those different processes and programs have different outcomes and, of course, have different benefits that accompany each one of them. For example, parole process, which is a temporary parole period for up to 2 years, is much different than an actual visa that can lead to a more permanent basis as far as a green card or other benefits that are associated with those. So that is something to take into account into each individual's decision, of course. But as far as looking for additional appointments or how that could work as far as waiting for visa interviews, that's something we can run back with the Department of State and hope to get some clarity on.
Thank you so much. And we have so many more questions for you all tonight, but I'm looking at the time. It is close to our end time of 7:15. But let's see if you have a couple of minutes that we can get a couple of more questions in. But for those people who are just joining, if we don't answer your questions right now, we will be following up with you to get you the information that is needed. One last question we are getting as well. Does the family reunification program stop someone with a pending residence application to continue getting regular correspondence on their case from USCIS? Understanding what needs to happen, right, once they start that the family reunification program, once they receive that invitation.
If I'm understanding the question right, it's, if you're already in another process and then you start to enter the HFRP process, will that stop kind of the other process from going? And I think the answer is no. If you received the invitation for the family reunification parole process, that's a separate stream, and it shouldn't stop you from continuing to receive information about any other process that you may be in, if I'm understanding the question accurately.
If that's not the right answer, I'm sure the person will reach back out and request clarification. But as we are looking at the time, we want to say thank you to everyone for joining. Again, we understand we have more questions than we can answer right now, but we will follow up with you all on that. Also, they are answered to many of the questions that have been asked on the Q&A. Please check on that to see if your questions have been answered. Please stay in touch with the Haitian Bridge Alliance as we continue to really find the right way to get the information to the community and really work with DHS different departments to make sure that that we hold everyone accountable. So we want the community to understand that we are working on your behalf to represent and really being a good steward for of your trust in us and our partners as we continue to fight for you, whether it is at the border, in the US, throughout your asylum process with TPS, or what's happening in Haiti right now, to make sure that you're able to get participate in programs such as the family reunification program, the CHNV program. But we also want to take that moment to say thank you to the Biden administration, to Secretary Mayorkas and the entire DHS team for listening, for agreeing, for really getting allowing us to fight you to really represent the communities that we are grateful to serve and get the little wins that we have been able to do. So we want to tell you, Royce, Catherine, and Daniel, we are grateful for your partnership. We are grateful for your service. And we really want to thank President Biden and the entire administration, especially Secretary Mayorkas, for working on those very crucial pieces on immigration and getting TPS, humanitarian parole, as we're moving forward into a more equitable, a more way to welcome people with dignity, with compassion, with love, and with respect.
Thank you, Guerlaine. Thank you for your kind words, and we will certainly pass them along to the Secretary and to the USCIS Director. We're happy to be here. We're grateful to the work of the Haitian Bridge Alliance and the many organizations and individuals represented on this call for all the help getting good information out to the community, for helping address rumors and raising questions to us so that we can help get the best information out. I'm sorry that we weren't able to answer all of the questions today, but we're happy to work with you on the follow-up if you'd like to capture what's in the Q&A and any other outstanding questions. We're happy to work with you to get the information back to folks.
Thank you so much. Do you have a few minutes or you have to go right now?
We probably have just a minute or two, but unfortunately, we are short of time.
Okay, we really understand and we are so grateful for your time. One quick question from our dear sister Eugenia Charles in DC. She says that my brother filed his green card renewal application since August 2021. Why is it taking so long to get a new green card? Per his online account on USCIS, everything is fine.
I think it's probably hard for us to answer case-specific questions, unfortunately. Catherine, I don't know if you have more to say there, in general, but I think it's going to be difficult without looking into a specific case to address what any delays may be.
I think that's right. And we certainly do have, pending caseloads for pretty much all of our benefit types. So some delay, I don't know, again, we don't know what the specifics are of this case, but, some waiting time is to be anticipated. Without knowing more about the specifics, I think it would be difficult to answer.
Thank you so much again, Royce, Catherine, Danielle, for your time, for being here with us. We really appreciate it, and we will continue engagement. We understand in order for us to make sure we address the misinformation, and this type of engagement is necessary. And we do hope that we will continue to be able to have you on to speak to the communities that we are privileged to serve. Again, if you just joined, we want to say thank you so much for joining us for this very important and critical community engagement, the town hall, the webinar. Thank you for each and everyone who have submitted questions. If your questions have not been answered, we will follow up with you. Mes amis, nous pral follow up avec nous pour ti patience pour nous. We really will follow up with you. Please be patient with us as we continue to get the information for you. Again, it was a privilege for me to moderate this conversation. My name is Berlin Joseph. I am your servant, co-founder, executive director of the Haitian Bridge Alliance, the Black Immigrants Bell Fund, and the Cameroon Advocacy Network. And as we say here at the Haitian Bridge Alliance, un pile main chay palou, many hands lighten the load, and we are looking forward to continue this journey with you. Thank you so much for joining. Again, thank you so much for Royce, Daniel, and Catherine, who are coming to you directly from the Department of Homeland Security, who are dealing with immigration within the U.S. government. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. Merci un peu tout le monde.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Flash, dernière nouvelle, bon genre information. Quel que soit côté nouvelle là, Radio-Tele LouvriJe a informé. Radio-Tele LouvriJe, là où l'action se passe. Flash, dernière nouvelle, bon genre information. Quel que soit côté nouvelle là, Radio-Tele LouvriJe a informé. Radio-Tele LouvriJe, là où l'action se passe. Flash, dernière nouvelle, bon genre information. Quel que soit côté nouvelle là, Radio-Tele LouvriJe a informé. Radio-Tele LouvriJe, là où l'action se passe. Flash, dernière nouvelle, bon genre information. Quel que soit côté nouvelle là, Radio-Tele LouvriJe a informé. Radio-Tele LouvriJe, là où l'action se passe.